And we're on. Hey, Jill, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good. This is week 9 of our podcast, This Week in the Grotto. And today, as we are leading up to our spring 2020 lean program, which is an acronym for lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition, we figure over the next 3 weeks, we will be covering those 3 topics: lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition. Today being week or part 1 of 3, we will be talking about lifestyle. But before we jump into the topic of the day, we have a keychain to give away, a You Evolve Buffalo keychain. As we have been doing every week, anybody that leaves us a review on our Facebook page, You Evolve Buffalo, we pick one of our favorite reviews and we give that person one of these coveted keychains. And this week's winner is Ryan Anderson. He wrote, "Awesome trainers who will work directly with you to reach your goals and even to push you to new limits. Great people to work right alongside you." And I know Ryan has just recently moved. I believe he's relocated to Florida. So I will get in touch with you, Ryan, for an address, and I will mail this down to you so we can bring You Evolve Buffalo swag nationally. I know we have a couple announcements next week, next Saturday, which is March 7th at 9:45 a.m. We are going to have another yoga class presented by Move Buffalo at the Grotto. It's gentle yoga for all bodies, which we had a few weeks ago. If you remember us talking about it, I thought it was fantastic. I was a huge fan of the class. I'm glad it's coming back because I want to take it again myself. I felt so good afterwards. I really wish I can do it more regularly. So since it's hard for me and you to get out and do it, we figured let's just bring it to us. Seems like an easy fix.
Yeah, what I like about it too is that, and this isn't a knock at all on yoga because it definitely has its purpose. I have a hard time slowing my brain down enough. And I've found, although Danae, remember, we had Danae come in and do yoga, and I think she's just absolutely fantastic. She's also somebody who I was able to take yoga classes and didn't find that I was doing this. But a lot of the times I will go to yoga classes, and especially if there's a visible clock, I feel like I'm constantly looking at the clock. And I think the only thing slower than a treadmill minute might be a yoga minute. And it feels like I'm just constantly waiting for the time to pass. And I definitely didn't feel like that with Angels. And it wasn't any complex movements at all, which I liked. And they were basic, but kind of to the point and served their purpose. And I just was telling somebody about this because they were asking about Angel's class, and they were like, "I really don't generally like yoga, but I feel like I could use a good stretch." And I said, "I think that would be the perfect class for you then, because it's not anything." I'm like, she doesn't have you in crazy holds for too long. You don't feel like you're like, it doesn't really feel like a yoga class. It feels like it's more of a stretch with some yoga poses, but her voice is also just so soft and calming, I would say, that I think that she does a great job of instructing that class.
Absolutely. Plus, she has modifications if anybody needs them. If anybody,
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple. And like you said, I thought I could have kept going. I didn't want it to end. I was feeling good. So that's next week, Saturday the 7th. So you can register through the MindBody app, or you can reach out to Angel directly through, find her on social media. She goes under Move Buffalo, and you can register through either us or her. And then we have registration just opened for the spring lean program. So before we even talk about lifestyle, why don't we go over some of the details of the lean program? I think I'm really, really, really happy with the results of, and a couple of the tweaks that we made to the program this last January, this 8 weeks. I think we're really starting to hone in on how to get the most out of the program. It's been a work in progress going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
So in May will be our 3rd-year anniversary at U Evolve Buffalo. And we've been running some form or variation of this program since the inception of U Evolve Buffalo. And it's literally have been evolving over the course of the 3 years. And I think we're starting to get closer to it really nailing the needs of the general population fitness community, where people, a wider swath of people can get the most out of the program, and where we're properly incentivizing it and really letting it fit into the pocket of what we do best at U Evolve Buffalo. I think it's come a long way. I still think, we've talked about a couple of tweaks that we need to make, but we're looking to really optimize the program, and not just, put it on autopilot.
Yeah, I definitely, it's
sure.
come a long way, I would say, since we first started with that reprogram. And I think as we have, because we work so closely with our clients, they are, I think, pretty good about giving us feedback about what has worked for them. And even if, whether they say it or not, we've also been able to visually recognize where and what has been successful, and maybe where we needed to make some of those changes along the way. I think we've definitely made some good positive changes that have been beneficial, that, like you said, it can work for the general population, and we're able to cater this program to each individual. And it's not something that's across the board where we're telling all X amount of clients the same exact thing, because we've recognized that different protocols are going to work for different individuals, and what works for one person might not work for another, but also keeping the same, I guess, integrity that, from a fitness standpoint, that we believe to be a good baseline as a starting point as well.
Well, what originally I didn't have this topic in mind for the podcast until this morning. Actually, I had a different route that I was going to go. And just yesterday, we were doing, as the program wrapped up, we were collaging some pictures together of some of the people that completed the program, showing progress and results. And early this morning, I hosted a boot camp at 6 a.m. And yesterday, we posted a collage of Mel Bush and her progress, and she happened to be at boot camp this morning. And she said to me, you know what I'm really proudest about the side-by-side pictures? It was 3 pictures. It was a 3-picture collage. The one picture, the starting point, was the very first time that she came in a group setting to work with me. Probably, it's about 4 years ago. The second picture was where she has a lean program tank top on, was 2018. And then the one where she's doing a front double bicep is 2020, obviously. So over a 4-year period, she said, I'm so happy that from 2018 to where she is now, she's been maintaining, and she feels like she's off the roller coaster.
Yeah.
So she's been able to, she got her results, and she, everybody has that 5 pound, 6 pound, not everybody,
Sure.
A lot of people have that little fluctuation in weight, but she's been able to reach her maintenance point and keep it there for years now. Now she has a couple solid years, 2 good years of maintenance, and that is what, and she's going to continue with the program. on a level of maintenance. So it's not just, about weight loss for everyone. It's not just, everybody has their own reasons for joining the program because it encompasses lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition. It's not a weight loss program. It's not just one dimensional.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, that's really cool. She's really fulfilling the lifestyle aspect of the program. She's a great example of somebody that's, got results, had success, and has kept them. Because way too often, I believe statistics are that like it's over 95% of people that lose weight don't end up keeping it off after it's like after 1 year, 50% of the people,
After a year,
after 2 years, it shoots up to like 80%. And then by the 3 year mark, most people have put all the weight back on and oftentimes even more.
mm-hmm.
So I'm like, we need to talk about and address the lifestyle, which is part of the lean program. And then we'll get to eventually the exercise and the nutrition. But that's what really kind of inspired the podcast for me today.
Yeah, and you can see she is absolutely, I would say, especially from a nutrition standpoint, and I mean somebody who's, I would just say general population, not anyone who's got competition goals or anything like that. She is, I would probably say, one of the most consistent when it comes to her nutrition.
Sure.
And what's cool to see is she's always, as a matter of fact, she's probably the most avid poster in that group with all of her pictures of her food and stuff. And I don't think that it all looks delicious, but they're all those single food because she follows a whole food protocol.
For the most part.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally speaking, it's mostly single ingredient foods, and everyone is always raving about how delicious her food looks. And to me, that's also just a testament to that you can have healthy, nutritious food without having to get into any kind of crazy recipes, because it doesn't seem like she does anything like absurd or outlandish when it comes to her cooking techniques, from what I can tell.
There's nothing complicated about it.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty basic and pretty simple, and she just manages to put it together in a way that looks appealing and tastes good too. Because I mean, I've had her food before, and it's very good.
Well, a couple things. Probably one of the only people that it doesn't annoy me when they post their food. Most of the food pics, I'm just like, maybe because they're not as appetizing looking as hers, but I always look forward to seeing her pics. It never, it's never like, oh, there's Mel posting her food again. I never get that feeling for whatever reason. Probably because a lot of times it's always something new. It's not like the same thing over and over again. So she does, as simple as it is, there seems to be a lot of variety in her meals. But what I think's probably very important to note is that her family's on board with it. Her husband supports it, eats the same way. Everybody, it's not like she's trying to do that and her husband is ordering pizza and stuff like that. He's totally on board, supportive of it. As a matter of fact, I think he helps her with the pictures sometimes. Like he kind of gets into it a little bit. So that, I think that is part of the lifestyle, is a key component. If you don't have that, if everybody's not on board, it can tend to be difficult for sure for some people.
Yeah, because I mean, especially, I would say, I mean, like you mentioned, she's been doing this for some time now. But if you're somebody who is maybe just beginning to create some healthier nutrition habits, especially in the beginning, it can be a little bit more difficult to have that will if everybody is not on board or not supportive. Because you get home from work, and if you have somebody who's constantly saying, oh, let's just order pizza, or why don't we grab takeout on the way home, or something like that. It can be difficult for people. It can be difficult for people to kind of hold their ground. And then not only that, but then if you're cooking, having to cook 2 or 3 different meals for one meal, you're cooking 3 different meals for all these different people. That can also start to make things a little bit more taxing when it comes to all of that as well.
Sure, I know plenty. I've heard plenty of times that people, they don't want to just cook for themselves. They feel like
Right.
it's a waste of time. It's a lot of effort for just, cooking for one person. I don't. I mean, I do it all the time. It doesn't bother me at all. But for some people, it seems to sometimes be an issue that they don't think that it's worth doing. I would beg to differ. I would say that the effort is usually always worth it, but to each their own. Um, but beyond just the food, well, also going to restaurants too. So even if just to backtrack a little bit, besides just cooking at home, but even if you, your significant other, your family, just like decide to have an evening out or going out to eat, deciding where to go, choosing a place where maybe you have some options on the menu that are a little more conducive to the lifestyle that you're trying to lead. If not everybody's on the same page with that can be difficult too. Although most places, as long as you're willing to alter, make some substitutions, you can make it work. But what happens, a lot of times, is once you get there, you see something on the menu, you had all intentions to get the salad with the chicken on it, whatever, and then you have that moments of weakness and you go with the pizza because everybody else is ordering the pizza, say.
Yeah.
Just as an example.
Well, and like you said too, I would say most restaurants that you go to have some kind of alternative, whether of a meat and vegetable. And Penny, actually, because we'll go out to eat every once in a while, and she always laughs at me because whatever's on the menu, she's like, "You're just gonna come up with your own thing, anyways." And I worked in a restaurant for years, so maybe that's why I don't have a problem being that person that does it. You think it might go the other way, but it doesn't. I don't have a problem saying, can I get a 6-ounce sirloin, but instead of this, can I substitute this? Or instead of, can I get this with that? And, a lot of the times they'll be like, well, sure, but there's a little bit of an upcharge, which I'm fine with because I don't mind paying a couple more bucks to get a side of, like the one, a lot of times, even with like breakfast, for example, if you order a breakfast meal, it'll come with eggs, hash browns, and toast. And you can substitute, usually pretty freely, you can substitute tomatoes. They'll give you tomato slices. But if I were to want to add on like bacon or sausage, there is an upcharge. Or if I wanted to add steamed broccoli, sometimes there's an upcharge. But I don't mind saying, like, I want to do this instead, and I kind of create my own meal.
Sure. I remember one time, I think we were at like a Denny's or something. We were out of town for a powerlifting meet. And I'm like, I need a 10 egg white omelet.
We were in Erie, we were in Virginia, and you were at Denny's because that was right next to the hotel that we were staying at.
Yeah, and I forgot what they charged me something ridiculous for it.
Like it was like $8 for 10 eggs.
I think it was more than that. And I remember
ridiculous like that.
Putting mustard on it and grossing everyone out because I put the mustard on my egg whites. That's how I like it. But and I've gone to, when I was eating carnivore, we went to Longhorn Steakhouse, and I mean, obviously that's simple enough, but it was just like, no sides. You don't want any potato? No. You want broccoli? No. No sides. Just bring me the steak. That's a little easier because you're just eliminating stuff. But whatever you're trying to accomplish at that time, it's usually doable if you're willing to make those adjustments. But besides the food, so lifestyle encompasses more than just what you're eating. It's really, the way I would define lifestyle is how you choose to spend your time. And so, lifestyle, exercise, and nutrition, the exercise and nutrition are pretty self-explanatory in a sense. Lifestyle, maybe not so much. So I know, again, how do you choose to spend your time? I know there's certain times people can't or choose not to say like, oh, there's a class going on, or we're running this program at such and such a day at such and such a time. And people are like, well, that time doesn't work for me. Um, I get overtime. I have the option. A lot of times teachers can do things like on the weekends
Hmm.
for overtime, which, hey man, fantastic. Do what you got to do. But that's a choice. That's a choice. So you're for whatever reason, whether clearly if you need the money and you're trying to make ends meet, or it's vacation money, the reason doesn't matter. The point is, if you are choosing to do one thing over another, it, there must be some form of priority that tips that balance. And I'm not saying it's a bad reason, but a lot of times people do choose things like work. And I'm not talking again. I'm not judging, and I'm not saying in the situation where people, yeah, you have to support yourself. You have others to support. Um, but there may be situations where sometimes, for certain people, the choice might be, you know what, I need to make a choice for me and my health, and this putting in the 72 hours, the 60 hours, or even it might just be one extra day, is it might be moving me, helping me financially, but from a health aspect, from a physical aspect, it's setting me backwards. And this over a period of time of months and years, and it could be decades, you have to start wondering, is it worth it? For what you're gaining, would it be worth maybe cutting back on something and trying to eliminate costs so you don't have to do that, and you can dedicate more time to your health and fitness lifestyle? Just something to think about. Clearly, you and I have chosen health and fitness as a high priority. Obviously, it's our occupation. So we do it. I think people think we have more time to spend on it than we actually do, because a lot of time we are working and putting a lot of time and energy into the business itself, and we're not just playing with the weights all day. Sometimes it's even hard for us to find time to get you know the time in for ourselves, but we make it happen. We make it a priority, and there is still sacrifice in that. That maybe we could be doing something to generate more income, but I know for myself that I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice the time, my time that I get to do my training. Whether even if I don't mind scaling things back a little bit, but I couldn't see going for months or even weeks without having that as a staple in my life, because
Right.
of the way I would feel mentally, the way I would feel physically. It would, I think
I
it
don't
would.
even like to go more than 3 days in a row. When I was sick, because again, we've talked about this and knowing your body and you need to know when to rest. But then it gets to a point where it's like, all right, I'm feeling better enough. I just need to at least do some kind of movement, even if it's a light watered down version of it. But from like a mental standpoint, I don't think I could go if I was not sick. If I will take the sickness off the table, I don't like to go. I can go 2 days. If I get to a third day where I haven't exercised for some reason, it's not, I feel like I get like stir crazy. I'm anxious. I'm a little bit more short fused. I feel like even if I haven't been making poor food choices, I feel soft. Like I feel like my muscle has turned to mush. Does that make sense?
Sure. Obviously, a lot of that's mental, but it
Of
doesn't
course
matter.
it is.
it's the way you feel, and if that's the way you're
Absolutely.
perceiving it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I
But
can't imagine going months and months on ends and not prioritizing at this point some kind of physical activity. It's just such a part of a daily, weekly routine that I can't imagine it not being there. It's like it's just as normalized in my routine as brushing my teeth and taking a shower.
yeah, even if there was, say, an injury, I would always be prepared to work around it. If say if I, God forbid, I broke a leg, I would still train the other leg. I would still train the upper body. I would always try to find something to do. If I had to, I would find even a different form of training. If I
Yeah.
wasn't able to do the resistance training, um, God forbid there was any kind of brain injury or something that would prevent me from doing it. I'd like to think that I would, even if it was reduced to walking or anything, anything to keep that some form of that physical stimulation, because I think it's that important. And I think from a just from a physiological standpoint, the human body was meant to engage in physical activity and strenuous physical activity. It was built for it. In my opinion, I think it was really built for it. We were given the muscles and the structure that we have because it was meant to do for survival purposes, um, and it was meant to be challenged. And it's that's not the case. It's not needed in this day and age. A lot of people aren't engaging in physical, challenging labor as a means to survive. I mean, we're very fortunate that we're able to use our minds and we're able to work from offices and in homes, and we're not being exposed to the environment, harsh environment, I should say. So those are all good things, and I'm not looking to do a caveman reenactment. I don't think that's necessary. But with that taken away, I believe there becomes a greater need to supplement um, that physical activity through another form, and that's really what we specialize in. So having some form of challenging physical exercise in your life, I think should be pretty at least strive for as a means of a standard in everybody's life.
Yeah, it's I think I don't want to call it a curse, but it's kind of a blessing and a curse with all of the advancements that we've made over the years and years, that it's given us the ability, and also maybe to detriment of to where people have become a little bit too sedentary because they are at a desk, or they're working those types of jobs where they're not necessarily having to. I mean, if you think of the most of the people that we work with, we don't have too many people who have physically strenuous jobs. Some, yes, but we don't have too many construction workers and people who are doing physically taxing jobs.
Annually.
So that's where the supplementary exercise comes into play, because even if it comes down to, and I forgot who we were just talking to about this with, but they said even just being able to do the exercise so they can do something as simple as carry their groceries in without needing somebody's help, which sounds like it might be ridiculous, but it's really not. I mean, we're, we aren't or don't want to be frail human beings. We want to be able to take care of and fend for ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. That's the whole concept of why sports are popular. Is because most sports exhibit some form of physical prowess that people look up to and people admire, and people are vicariously living through somebody else's life that's achieving that.
Sure.
Maybe somebody, you know, um, used to play sports, and for whatever reason, they're, they don't do it anymore. Um, Again, for whatever reason. So you look to heroism through professional sports, what's on TV. It's the idea of somebody being a hero through physical prowess. That's what makes MMA so popular. That's what makes boxing so popular. That to somebody, especially a lot of those times, there's a lot of underdog stories. There was just a big heavyweight fight last weekend, and we watched a little bit of leading up to it. I don't remember where we were watching, but the Tyson Fury, weren't me and you watching?
Yeah.
Something about Tyson Fury. He had that rematch. So he was.
We're watching it here at home.
Yeah. Well, that fight took place last weekend, and that guy ended up winning.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he ended up winning, and he beat.
That was the guy that was like, he was up real high, and then he ended up winning and kind of like knocked himself off, gained a ton of weight, right?
Gained a ton of weight, depression, drug addiction, the whole nine.
Yeah, and then he came back, got back into his training. That was him, right?
He came back, and he fought the champ, and the fight ended in a draw. He got knocked down twice. They thought he was knocked out, but he got up, kept fighting. It ended in a draw, so the champ retained the belt. So they did a rematch, and he came back, and he won. They stopped the fight. He was beating the guy so bad. I think the seventh round, the champs, they threw in the towel.
Threw the towel.
So, people, and at least in the boxing realm, that was a huge fight. A lot of a great backstory to it. But the MMA, mixed martial arts, are so popular. And, a lot of people that are engaging in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and different forms. I know I have friends that are doing that just because of the exposure they got to it from watching the MMA. So what draws people to this? Because people generally don't engage in physical conflict anymore. It's any type of conflict is usually through your phone, on a text message, on social media. And people can, which we talked about before, you can spout off all you want until you're in somebody's face, So this is a way in a controlled atmosphere where two men, two women can engage in that physical combat in a controlled atmosphere, but it can be so intense where you're trying to hurt, and physically you're trying to put the other person into submission.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around it.
that fills a need and a void in people. Think about football. People just, they always call it, the war on the gridiron, that it's always compared to battle, the football field's compared to a battlefield of two groups of men, two groups of people smashing into each other, trying to impose their will on the other side. This type of behavior has been going all the way back to the Greek Olympics, which the Olympics are still going every couple of years, whether it's the Winter or Summer Olympics. There's always been a need for battle and competition. The sports have just changed a little bit, but that fills that need for the physical challenges, and it also fills the need of the spectator to try to, by watching that, maybe as a young person, you want to emulate that greatness. It still has, sports are more popular now than ever. It fills a role and a need for people. And unfortunately, as you mentioned already, the lifestyle that a lot of people are leading through technology, you're not getting it. So we end up being more spectator than participant.
Do you know what I think? Because for me, I think the reason why I enjoy watching sports or athletic events, whether it's on a professional level or even just like Bella with her cheerleading competitions, I like going. Partially because I was a cheerleader, and it's something that I greatly missed doing myself. So I guess in a sense, I'm kind of sort of living vicariously through my daughter in that aspect. But I really, in knowing the dedication that it takes to be what it takes to be an athlete, and just the hours spent in how meticulous developing these skills can be. I think part of it is, for me, is more of an appreciation of the time and all of the work that goes into what these athletes do. Because for me, I was a catcher. I played softball my whole life. I was a catcher. And after we would finish practice, and I would spend hours on the field after, and I would have either my shortstop or one of my other teammates stay, and I would practice throwdowns. And I mean, by the bucket. By the bucket, I would either have a pitcher pitch to me, and it was constant over and over, just like how we've talked about the mechanics of a golf swing. It was the same thing when I would practice these throwdowns to second base, to third base, to first base, hitting the shortstop as a cutoff for when there's an instance of a runner on first and third and whatever. But it was the additional time. And I think part of me being an athlete at one point, it takes me back to an appreciation of all of the time and the dedication that gets put into all of it, because it really is. In order for you to be at a higher level, you have to put in that extra work. I mean, you can be good, but you have to, aside from being coachable and a good teammate and everything, you have to be willing to go that extra mile. And that's something that I also appreciate in watching sports and watching athletic, contests, and even seeing these children. I go through and I see people with their kids, and just recently, I think there were a couple people who posted that their kids were going to states for wrestling, and I feel like I really appreciate seeing that these things are being instilled as children, because I think going back to the lifestyle, it's so much more than just the exercise or being able, everything that we were just talking about. It's learning more than just that. It's learning the time management that we've talked about. It's learning to prioritize. It's learning to find focus and being able to work in a team atmosphere. And those are skills that go way beyond just your own physicality. Those are things that that can be carried over into a workplace environment and just in your general communication with people, because it's there's skills that end up being developed. So I think that there's also an appreciation for that. And it's not just the heroism of seeing athletes or the sports or I guess the barbarism behind some of it. It's that it's an appreciation for all of these other skills that end up being carried over through all of it.
I would tend to agree. I think another thing that has to be getting away from the athletic lifestyle is, even if somebody might not have any interest in athletics for themselves, or maybe have no interest in even watching it, which is obviously perfectly fine too. But going back to the idea of how you spend your time. So if you're not going to spend time doing that, what do you spend your time with? How do you spend your weekends? What do you do when you get home from work? Is it, crack a bottle of wine before you go to bed? Is it the weekends? Is it, okay, I did my work Monday through Friday, I'm going to cut loose on the weekends? And how are you going to spend your time? Is it, there's a million different ways that you can do that. But if you want to have the long-term results, and similar to how we were talking about Mel being able to maintain those results for years, you may have to reconsider some of those extracurricular activities of time being spent. Not saying that you can never engage in going out for some drinks and going out to restaurants and having, going to parties. And I'm not saying that by any means, but you do have to pick your shots sometimes. And not every social engagement has to be, a 10 on the Richter scale. There's going to be times where you're going to have to be present and enjoy the social interaction for what it is, for the social interaction, without maybe the social lube or the food that goes along with it. And I think we're both examples of that, where there's plenty of times, more times than not, that we go to a party and the birthday party, not trying to be a Debbie Downer there. I'm not, I'm not eating that. It's just like, you got to pass on certain things. And sometimes, yeah. And then there's other times where, it's go time. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
But those are so much fewer and more in between. If I know for myself, if there's always a party, just this month and next month, every weekend there's something.
March there's something every single weekend, I think.
Yeah, some 2 parties on a weekend. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Not even to mention all the things that St. Patrick's Day and the Shamrock Run. If you want to engage in those things too, but that's just now you're just adding to the list of shenanigans, which I've done those all. They were fun. They all, but you can't do all of them all the time. Or at least I can't. If I do, there's going to be hell to pay. There's going to be hell to pay on my body. There's going to be hell to pay on my mind. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be cranky. I'm going to not feel good about myself in any way when it's all said and done. And that's not how I want to live my lifestyle, at least not anymore. I can't.
I literally can't. I've had conversations with people before too, and I don't know if my body just tells me heck no. I mean, when I was in college, I used to be able to go out, not saying that it was the best choices, but we would be out in 7 days out of the week. I think we were out 5 or 6 of them. I don't even know how I did it, because today, like now, I don't think that I could spend 2 days in a row doing what I did then. I would get to the 3rd day and I would be like, I would be down for 2 weeks probably.
Well, you might have done it. We've all done it, but whether you realize it or not, you paid for it.
Oh yeah.
You paid for it.
Oh, I'm
in
sure.
One way, whether it was physically, financially.
Well, that's how I got to a point. Oh yeah.
Sure. It was paid for. No, you didn't get away with anything. So when somebody says, "Oh, I used to be able to get away," you didn't get away with it.
No, I certainly didn't, because that's probably how. I mean, granted, I had 2 babies and whatever else in between, but that's how I probably got to be almost 200 pounds at one point.
I was going to say something else, but but you're right. You're right. Physically, there's always even if it doesn't physically rear its head at that time, even if you didn't gain the weight then, you very well may have. And I would say for myself, I definitely did enough internal damage that I don't have the insulin sensitivity. I desensitized myself where I cannot handle carbohydrate loads from food as a direct result of diet and lifestyle growing up through my 20s up to 30 years old. I blew that mechanism out, and that's why it's easier for me to gain weight if I eat those foods or drink beer or any of that. It becomes a struggle. So yeah, you might not have gained the weight then, but you're going to pay for it down the road. And then you're going to say, oh my God, I used to be able to do this. It's because I'm getting old. It's not because you're getting old. It's because you blew your pancreas out or you caused insulin resistance. The damage is done. It's just internal. So if you can,
we all thought that we were getting away with something, but really, if we
sure.
didn't get away with anything.
Yeah, and everybody has those stories of how they're able to go out, or what they used to be able to eat, and now you just look at the food and you feel like you're gain weight. Yeah, that there's a reason for that. It's because what you used to be able to eat then and not put the weight on, it was doing the damage then that you didn't realize because it didn't show up on the scale. It was showing up internally, and now you're paying the price for it now. So those are things when lifestyle, how you spend your time and the choices that you make. All choices matter. They will, you can't escape reality, right? A equals A. It's gonna show up somewhere. So how do you choose to spend your time? Who you choose to spend your time with?
I
All
think
those
that's a
things
big
come
one.
into play.
That's a real big one, is that actually, how you choose to spend your time. But I think who you choose to spend your time with can directly impact pretty much every aspect. Because if you have somebody that if you're constantly surrounding yourself with people, and I don't even mean just going out. I don't mean going out and drinking. I mean the people that you surround yourself with and the types of attitude that you surround yourself with. Because whether we want to believe it or not, that ends up kind of infiltrating our own minds. And we end up hearing these things over and over again. And I don't know, at some point it seems like people, if they don't necessarily take on those same and similar belief systems, they will carry the attitude of it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Especially just
And
being around it. If you're around a group of people that tend to say and do the same thing over and over again, it's gonna infiltrate your psyche and your decisions.
right. And I mean, even when it comes to things like, we've talked about the gossiping and all of that kind of thing. If those are the type of people that you hang out with, that's going to be constantly what you're doing, what you're surrounding yourself. You're going to be constantly talking about other people. And personally, I don't feel like any good comes from that. And I think that it has just a negative impact on people's minds and on people's perception of people in general. I think that it gives a bad, it puts out a bad narrative to human beings in general, for human beings in general. Because I like to think that, and maybe this is just my own oblivion, that human beings, generally speaking, I like to believe, are well-intentioned. I think that there's outside factors and outside influences that become an issue. But I think when you surround yourself with people who are constantly talking about the negative, that's really what people start to believe. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that those are the feelings and the thoughts then that are harbored. And that's what an individual then starts to believe, and that's how they start to behave themselves.
Sure. You've heard me say it myself, where there's just certain things I'm just not going to engage in. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to, because I'm just not engaging in it. There's nothing good going to come of it. It's not positive. I'm out. I've said that a million times. If you let it, like you said, if you're constantly, you're kind of breeding it, it's gonna affect you. You
Sure.
just have to make those choices.
Well, and I'm not saying, and this is, I don't want to send a mixed message that if an individual is having a struggle or a problem, that they should have to internalize it and keep it themselves.
No.
But I think there also comes a point where you reach the point of diminishing returns and you're just starting to beat a dead horse here. You can't, and I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it in my frustrations where I'm like, and I just want to talk about it to get it out. And you're like, okay, enough. And it's not meant to be nasty. It's just, but what good is going to come from continuing to have the same discussion that's just basically bubbling up the boiling point?
Yeah.
I mean, you can speak your piece, do what you need to do and get it out, but it's not a place also that you want to live, and you don't want to end up staying there either, because then the more what you feed, the beast you feed is the one that grows. Yeah. And you can either live in that place of frustration, anger, angst, and what other, negative feelings, or you do what you got to do, say what you got to say, kind of turn the page and realize that, there's better things at the forefront.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to throw in on the topic? I think I've kind of reached an end point.
Yeah, I think, we've talked about too, when it comes to lifestyle, I also think that something in how you spend your time too, in finding a hobby, like a positive hobby, no matter what it is. Everyone has different preferences. I've started painting, crocheting. I enjoy reading, and just trying to keep yourself, aside from the physical stimulation, keeping yourself mentally stimulated, so that way we don't all turn into, I don't know, somebody who can't use their mind. And I think that that's a really important component when it comes down to lifestyle, that we're also taking care of our minds just as well as we're taking care of our bodies.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. I know I noticed that with, and maybe it's with age, but I think it's with lifestyle, and a change of lifestyle. I really, outside of work, the music that I listen to, I mean, I wouldn't normally listen to like at work. We have I have a playlist that I use, and it's meant to serve a purpose as background music to the working out. And some of this stuff I would listen to, but not all of it. I don't put everything on there that I would listen to outside of there. But I noticed that I really, outside of work, I don't listen to a lot of music anymore.
No.
I listen to more like podcasts and stuff like that, where probably because I hear it all day long, and I'm done with music.
Yeah.
9-10 hours of it in the background. I've heard everything I need to hear. But when I do listen to it, I recognize more now than ever a lot of the negativity that's in the music.
Oh yeah.
The angst, the vulgarity,
sure.
There's just a lot of it just I don't think it's all good. Some of it I really like, as far as like energy, it's like a good AC/DC tune can, definitely fire me up at any given moment. But that band in particular, I never looked at. They never, to me, had negative energy.
No.
It was always more, a little more raucous, party, upbeat, But a lot of the stuff that I did previously listen to, I've shied away from. Either had negative energy, or going back and listening to music that I grew up listening to, I think to myself, oh my God, what a bunch of whining babies these guys are with these. I can't listen to love songs anymore. To me, it's disgusting of how low testosterone these guys are, whining, crying. I just want to be like, dude, get over it. It's bad. You go back and listen to some of those 80s power ballads, it's bad. You're not agreeing, Jill?
No, I'm just trying to think of some songs in particular. I'm sure if I
All right, let's go like Styx, Babe, REO, Keep on Loving You. Like I'm talking about like big ballad. Like I'm just like, dude.
Keep on Loving You is a bad one.
It's
REO Speedwagon has some.
I love REO.
I know so do I. But they if you
bunch of crying
go back
babies.
And think of the lyrics, I like it.
Yeah, a lot of those bands, like a lot of the hair bands from the 80s, when they started, everybody wanted to put out the big power ballad hit, bands like Poison.
Yeah, but and the way that they were able to sell all of those albums, though, is because those songs and the lyrics have connectivity. They're able to, there's like sympathizers. Everyone that's going through all of these bad breakups, they all sit there and they eat their gallon of ice cream while listening to the song and crying.
Yes, yeah, yeah. They're all prom. They all turned into prom themes. They all turned into prom bands, and I'm like, my God. And believe I don't. I have a plenty of taste for the cheesy music, and I like a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff. But sometimes you go back and be like, oh my goodness gracious, man
Well,
up, guys. You are a rock band. What's going on here?
but even in
It's
some of
annoying to
that,
listen to.
so I mean, with the Mush songs, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I like them as much as the next person. I know the Headstones are your favorite band, but like
They don't have one
they
mush
don't.
song.
No, I'm not saying Mush. I'm talking anger. You want to talk about anger and negativity, like, and
No, no, I
you
disagree. I
you
disagree 100.
disagree.
I disagree 100%.
You think that the Headstones are not angry.
There's I wouldn't call it anger. No, no, I wouldn't. I absolutely would not. Um,
Are you floating down? Are you floating down the river of denial? Are you
maybe, but let
down-
me let me just state my case with
Okay.
with that band in particular. There is definitely a theme, and it may be on the darker side. I don't know. Maybe I would be pressed to call it anger. Um, there could be some despair, but I think a lot of it is a lot of it is questioning. You're not buying any of this. I don't. It doesn't make me feel angry. I don't feel a stitch of anger when I listen to it. To me, it always comes to me sounds like it's coming from a point of view of somebody struggling, somebody that's definitely going through something and trying to think their way through the other side. And it's I never get the feeling of like I'm gonna go break heads. I want to go smash faces. I want to.
Maybe not anger, but you don't feel like you get all like, ugh,
I
come
don't get
on.
angry. No, no, I
Not
don't get.
angry. I don't mean like angry, but I mean like pumped. You don't get
Yeah,
all pumped.
yeah, yeah. But it's not through. I just don't know if I would classify it as angry music. I think it's just too general for that band. I really find that particular band and their content is what I like about them so much is their content is unique and consistent. There's no cheesy love songs. They don't
No,
they
there's
don't
no
even
cheap love songs. Not
they don't
one.
there's no sex. There's no sexual innuendo. They never bring that into their music. It's never derogatory toward women. You never hear the word like bitch. For album after album after album after album, there's never any of that, even innuendo of promiscuousness. None of that seeps into their music, which is to me very unique. I don't know any other band that does that. Um, I think they have a much different niche in their energy, and that feeling that comes from it is driven from a completely different place. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but if you
No,
really listen to it, and I do, I think you'll
well, I
find it.
have. We've gone a few times. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, and I'm not even saying it necessarily is like
Don't misconstrue anger for testosterone. It's
I don't have
testosterone driven.
that's testosterone.
Yeah, yeah.
So
They
anger and testosterone they
different.
are two separate entities.
Yeah, yeah. You're misconstruing the two.
Okay. I'm gonna have to get my beakers and make sure that they're
Yeah,
in
yeah,
separate.
yeah. Maybe there's a little anger in there, but I don't feel angry when I listen to it. All right. I think we're good. All right. Let's resume this next week and we will talk about exercise. But in the meantime, if anybody is interested in joining our spring lean program, I'm just going to refer you to our website, uevolvebuffalo.com. You can find out all the information there, what it entails, when it runs, the 8 weeks, what days, what times, registration's open. You can click on the Linktree link and register directly for your time. There's unlimited classes. We're giving out a weekly prize, cash. A lot of cool stuff with the program. So don't forget to hit the like button on this video if you found it at all helpful. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we'll talk to you guys next week.